Good evening, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to NTV's Community Matters. I know it's a very strange night, us holding this on a Wednesday or Thursday night, shall I say, considering you're probably used to seeing me on a Saturday night every other month. But it's a special night, and it's why not do it during a weekday if we're going to talk about a working week matter? What am I talking about today? So hopefully across the bottom of the screen very shortly, coming up the topics, because I have got to talk about the big London debate. We're talking about housing, crime and health. And who not better to have it but candidates from, if I get this correct, the London Assembly Election 2016. So we've got quite a lot to talk about, and I'm one just like you guys that are watching. 99% of us don't pay any attention to politics, don't pay any attention to anything that's going on, and just sort of either send off our postal votings or just turn up at the polling centre just to see a few mates and get a few ticks out of the way. Well, that's not going to be my plan today. I want you guys to listen carefully to what's going on in London, and then decide from there and really join in the issues. We have our email address across the bottom, so if you want to send in your views and thoughts, by all means send them across, and we get a chance today, we'll try to look at them. If not, I'm sure you'll get a nice response from us. Okay, before I actually begin, I've got something I don't really usually do, so I've got a disclaimer to cover. So we have closed the telephone line. So you're usually used to having a live phone in with me. Today we've closed the telephone lines, and I'm just going to look down and read some of the stuff that I need to make you aware of. So I have candidates with me. They are here to talk about the debate. They're not here to ask you to vote for them, and that's something they're going to avoid completely. But you will be encouraged to go out there and vote on the 5th of May. That's going to be it from me, because I think first I want to introduce my guests. So over to my right, I have Elaine Bagshaw of the Liberal Democrats, standing in the London Assembly election for the City and East. Welcome, Elaine.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And over to my left, I have Umesh Desai from the City and East Labour Party, standing in the London Assembly election. Welcome, Umesh.
City and East London Assembly election. Assembly seat from the Labour Party. And good evening and salam alaikum to you, and through you to your viewers.
Thank you
for having me.
So I've got these two very important people with me, and no doubt they've got very busy couple of weeks. So what we want to do, we probably want to know a bit more about them, and we're going to probably later on talk about those topics that I've brought up. No doubt they're going to have their insights into it, and hopefully give you a bit of insight into what might be the issues behind them, what might be the pros behind them, what might be even something really obscure about them. We don't know. Let's see how we get on, because it's going to be a nice conversation between them. It's a talk show. It's all about talking. That's what we'll do. So Elaine, I'm really going to start off with you. So typical, as I've said, know very little about politics. So I think the first thing is we've got to understand the candidates. So about yourself, I mean, let's talk about you. Let's take politics aside. So your background, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I live in Tower Hamlets near Westbury. I grew up in Nottingham, which is one of the most deprived cities in the country, so quite similar to the East End of London, very diverse as well. I was the first, and I'm still so far the only person in my family to go to university, and so I was very lucky to have the support of my family to do that. I spent 6.5 years working at the financial regulator, and I now work as an IT consultant, so working around digital transformation and basically making stuff work for people is my day job.
Oh, back in the 80s and 90s, not everyone's favourite subject, but right now it's the in thing.
Yes, it is, absolutely, which is good because it keeps me in a job and pays my mortgage. So
and no giveaway to your age either. Well, so let's talk about politics. I mean, when did you first get involved?
Oh gosh, so I very first got involved when I was about 10 years old. I was living in Nottingham, and basically someone from one of the parties that isn't represented here decided not to properly deliver their leaflets and dumped them at the end of our driveway. And so that got me into kind of what was going on and why did someone feel that they could do that. And then I got involved in youth council and youth parliament, and that real kind of community politics and making sure that young people had a voice in what was happening for them. The big thing that drove me into politics is because of my background. So my mum had me when she was a teenager. I grew up in a very poor part of the country. My dad was a painter and decorator. My mum works for the job centre, so not a wealthy background at all. people from my background don't end up going to university, and they don't end up going into politics or consulting or sitting here getting to chat to you on a Thursday evening. And that's really fundamentally unfair and really wrong. And the fact that that still happens in 2016 is something that actually we should all be questioning and should be fighting to make sure that that's not actually the case anymore.
I'm glad you've actually mentioned, because I completely forgot that even though we have the two candidates here, we did send the invite out to also the Conservative Party's City and East candidate, which was Chris Chapman, who only had to cancel this morning, unfortunately. And also there was an invite sent to the UKIP candidate for City and East, who was Peter Harris. And lastly, there was an Independent Party candidate for City and East, which is Amina Kachinga. So those were the people that we sent the invite to. And obviously a big thanks to you guys coming. I'm gonna sort of flick across Umesh. I mean, yourself now. You've been in it for years, but let's take politics out. Give us your history.
Well, I will give my age away. I'm a Newham councillor and have been one since 1998. I moved to East London in 1982. And actually, my first home in East London was just down the road in Limehouse.
Oh, right.
This was before Canary Wharf was built. There was no DLR. Very different East London in those days. And my political activism in East London actually started in Tower Hamlets in Brick Lane.
Right.
It was really issues around racism, fascism. In those days, we had terrible problems. Fascism is still an issue with what's going on in Europe, the rise of the far right, and so on. But we had the National Front, and then the British National Party, very active in the East End, exploiting people's genuine grievances around housing, which is still an issue. The docks were shutting down, people were losing their jobs, and the fascists and the far right parties were trying to exploit people's grievances and discontentment. I worked for a project in Newham dealing with racial harassment. Amongst many things, we set up the country's first 24-hour racial harassment hotline. And we had many campaigns in Tower Hamlets, Newham, around housing, racism. And that is what really shaped my political thinking. I became active in the Labour Party in the mid-80s because I believe that the Labour Party is a party that, for working people. And I also felt that to fight issues around racism and social justice properly, single issue campaigns are important, but one has to join a political party. There are different parties, but for me, the Labour Party was and remains my natural home. So I've been active in East London politics, community politics, and the Labour Party since 1982 around racial harassment issues, anti-fascist activity, and now, as I say, council politics. And hopefully, if the good people of East London decide to elect me on May the 5th, then taking the fight for a better East London to a new and higher level, which is the Greater London Authority.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, I should probably ask you, Liberal Democrats, what drove you towards the Lib Dems then?
So for me, it was all about education and about equality of opportunity, and the Lib Dems really stand for that. So that was why we had things like People Premium that we brought in when we were in coalition. So, like I said, first person in my family to go to university in Nottingham, where I grew up. The education system wasn't very good. Very few of us got the opportunities that we should have. And it was only the Lib Dems that, for me, really stood up for that, stood up for you being able to love whoever you want, do whatever you want with your life, regardless of who your parents are or what your background might be. It's all about you as an individual and your talents, and you being able to make the most of your life and make the most of yourself. I was actually Labour to start with, and I defected to the Lib Dems when I got to university, and because my experience in the Labour Party was that they didn't actually stand for the things that they said they did.
Right. And so that's probably sort of early 2000s when you made that switch?
Yes, it would have been. Yes, yeah. You keep me to get my age, because I am 30, so I wasn't born when Umesh was getting started.
I must say, I respect Elaine's integrity and background, and we've shared many a platform over the last few weeks. But talking about letting people down, the Lib Dems actually promised to abolish student tuition fees in 2010, and then you went back on that promise. So.
As you did, so it was in your 1997 manifesto that you wouldn't bring in tuition fees, and then you both lifted and then tripled them, and then had a report that was going to remove the cap completely. And then there was the illegal war into Iraq as well.
Well, that's debatable. I mean, I oppose the war, by the way.
Right.
The going to Iraq actually, led the opposition, the Labour Councillors' opposition in to the Iraq war. But there are lessons to be learned from it.
No.
Yes,
But I must say very clearly.
The Libertarians have learned our lesson in
yeah,
terms of
absolutely.
going back on the promise on tuition fees. It
Yeah.
was, it wasn't, it just, we shouldn't have done it. And I was one of the many people that was lobbying within the party to say that it wasn't something that we should go back on. But, I wasn't in the room at the time.
I'll tell you what's brilliant about this, because this first segment, I wanted to cover your backgrounds, and we've so smoothly gone into the second segment, which is going to be our debate, and I've run out of time for the first segment. So,
and I haven't started telling you about my background, finished telling you about
we
my
haven't even
background.
finished about your background, have we? Well, we're going to have to
life
do
in
that.
East
I hope there's a
Africa,
debate behind it, because we're going to catch it in the second segment, aren't we? We've got to go for a quick break, because don't go away. As you can see, it's just getting heated up here. I'm already hot under the collar. So a few seconds, and we'll be back for you. We'll see you in a moment.